What is going on, my fellow future millionaires? Welcome to my channel. I am the covered call guy, and for those who are new, welcome to the channel again. My goal here is to create $120,000 in annual passive income, and I'm doing this currently by holding 7 covered call ETFs. Of course, I'm going to be expanding my portfolio. I do want to have at least 10, no more than 15. So I don't know what I'm going to be building, but I will be updating this as we go. I am currently scaling out IWMI, SPY, QQI, and iDivil. Right now, my 7 holdings give me about 70 grand a year. So that translates to 5.8K a month, 1.3K a week, 193 days, $193 per day, and $8.05 per hour. Okay. All right. So before we get started, legal disclaimer. Let's see. Okay, this content is for information and educational purpose only and should never be considered financial, investment, or tax advice because I am not a licensed financial advisor, investment professional, or tax expert. All opinions expressed are my own and may be inaccurate or incomplete or just flat out wrong. So please conduct your own due diligence and consult with a qualified, licensed professional before making any financial or investment decisions. Remember, I am just some random clown you found on YouTube, and I could be completely wrong. All right. Let's talk about a stock I used to own and a stock that is trending, and that is Nike. Ticker symbol NKE. Let's look at Nike's 75% collapse. Right. So yes, a lot of people are saying, whoa, a rising dividend against a falling price. Is this deep value treasure or a classic optical value trap? All right. So I'm going to be breaking down my ultimate deep dive on Nike. Ticker symbol NKE. Again, I used to own this one probably about a year ago or so, until I fully transitioned to a more derivative income investing strategy. All right, let's see. All right, so let's talk about the ugly truth, right? As much as I love Nike and I am a huge Nike supporter, right? We gotta ask, is Nike officially dead, right? Shares just dropped roughly 29% year to date, near decade low, okay? So predicting a brutal 2 to 4% revenue decline. And again, they do face a pretty much China facing massive 20% drop next quarter from their own competition. Of course, the tariffs too is not helping it, following a 10% currency neutral decline in quarter 3. Margins fell for 6 consecutive quarters, dropping 130 basis points to an ugly 40.2%. It's not good, okay? It doesn't look like market fair. It looks like real business pressure is crushing the bottom line. It looks like Nike is facing too much competition. It's not able to hold up. It looks like Nike is raising its prices while lowering its quality. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but you know, all the Nikes I've been recently buying, I just don't feel like it's worth the money. You know, quality is just not there, and plus a lot of these shoes are now over $100, and you know, there are better competitors out there, right, for better quality and lower prices. So what is happening with Nike, and is Nike stock still good? So let's look at the macro nightmares. First, of course, what's happening with the global events. The oil shock, right? The Iran war and Straits of Hormuz closure drove crude oil to roughly $120. That inflates PU, EVA, and PVC footwear material by 50%. This leads to the consumer squeeze. So while U.S. retail advanced about 0.6% in February, gas spiking past $4 crushed middle-class discretionary spending, right? Oh my God. I guess, guys, we're going to have to start walking to work every single time. Again, this administration is not being very friendly. Tariff, right? So the 130 basis point margin drops actually hit a 300% basis point tariff hit. So that means the underlying margin realistically improved by 170 basis point. So the massive win is because the Supreme Court did strike down one of these global tariffs, right? Removing about $1.5 billion in structural costs overhang for 2027, but it's not completely removed, so it is still hindering you know, it's a small profit that they're gonna have to pass on to the consumer, and you know, the consumer is not gonna be happy about that. All right, the dividend trap. This is the main question here. They have about a 96% EPS payout ratio. So is the question here, is this a total dividend trap? Well, Nike yields a pretty solid okayish 3.71%, right? Boasting 24 years of consistent dividend growth. But looking at quarter three, EPS crashed by 35% to 0.35 cents. Okay, this is pushing the quarterly payout ratio to a dangerous 117%. So yes, the yield will mathematically rise as the stock price drops. Okay, don't be fooled by that. For those who are new, just because the yield goes up and the stock price goes down, it's supposed to. All right. It's making it look incredibly cheap, but you got to remember, dividend safety is never risk-free if the underlying earnings continue a downward trajectory, because dividends should be coming from the profits, okay? So if they are raising the dividends every year, but they're making less and less every year, this is an issue. Okay, let's look at the gray area. This is one of the main concerns here, is the cash flow reality. Okay, this is where I see the nuance. An EPS payout near 100% is very, very terrifying. Okay, Nike's free cash flow payout sits at a much safer 60.71%, keeping the dividend funded. They actually generated a robust $1.15 in pure cash flow for every $1 of reported net income. So as of right now, they do have some, at least I think they have a fortress balance sheet, right? They do hold about roughly $8.1 billion cash stockpile against a highly conservative 57% debt to equity ratio. So total inventory has successfully declined 1% year over year to $7.5 billion. Okay, so that's something, yes, they do have a decent balance sheet, but it is declining. Okay, so restricting aging lifestyle franchisees hurts revenue now, but structurally clears global supply chain for new innovation. I hope they are really starting to improve their shoes again, better quality too, and the price, they have to start matching the competitor's price. All right, looking at this competition, again, there is more, but it is just some. All right, looking at the competitors here, Adidas and Lululemon's. Okay. The valuation war, Nike versus Adidas and Lululemon, right? The sector is very heavily bifurcated, okay? Adidas trade at a demanding 40x forward PE premium, leaving zero room for execution error, okay? Nike represents a more compelling asymmetric turnaround profile. That is what people are betting on, okay? But it still does trade at a 25x to 30x PE on currently depressed earnings. They have to be able to switch that, that turnaround and kind of compete again. They're not really competing right now. Okay, the bear case. Let's look at the bear case. Okay, in my opinion, should you run away? Well, they are facing a lot of competition, especially in China. Their China market share is decreasing. I'm pretty sure you guys heard of Li-Ning, right? Anta, right? Wall Street is downgrading in management amidst full recovery won't happen until spring 2027. So until spring 2027, we're going to have to see how they're going to be able to execute their strategy, okay? This is an exceptionally long wait for your capital to be tied up as dead money if you already have your money tied up in Nike. This is where you go, okay, should I listen and hold out till spring 2027? Well, this is the possible, your money could, value can keep dropping right here, right? All right, the bull case, brand supremacy. Nike is everywhere. Nike is a global brand, just like McDonald's. Okay, you see the golden arches, you know it's McDonald's. You see the swoosh sign, you know it's Nike, right? So they do have a massive $1.1 billion quarterly marketing budget, right? Ensures they are nearly impossible to permanently displace. Turnaround is active, right? There's a new CEO now. Right, he has a win now strategy, just grew North America's wholesale by 11% and running categories by 20%. They're getting back to their roots. Massive buybacks, right? They do have about a $5.9 billion remaining in repurchases, right? Providing massive synthetic floor to the stock prices. So they do care about their stockholders. They do care about their investors here. Let's look at the 2026 mega catalyst. I do think that the FIFA World Cup could somewhat save them, give them a boost. It is being hosted in North America, and I think that analysts are saying the project, the tournament will drive at least $1 to $2 billion in revenue. Nike has to be able to get in on this, right? And then there's the Nike Skim thread, right? So it launched in spring 2026. This 58-piece joint venture with Kim Kardashian directly attacks Lululemon's dominance. So they are going after Lululemon's pretty much their kind of, I guess, their legging fashion, their style, right? So it does generate $1 billion. They want a piece of it, and I think that's a good thing, right? They're going on the offensive. All right, let's look at the best entry zones. I think, in my opinion, if you were in the bear case, $34 to $38, right? This is a 2014 technical floor, and it represents deep distress value if China collapses or a recession hits. If you want a base case and you say, okay, if it enters 42 to 46, this is where I will nibble. Why? Because with RSI under 16, at least looking at the algorithms, it is pretty exhausted. So this is where if you have $10,000, you can deploy 25% of it and lock in a 3.71% yield, collect your dividend, let it, if it goes down, you dollar cost average more, right? As of right now, the fair value is sitting at roughly $58, right? So you are waiting for high volume breakout above 48 to confirm this, okay? If institutional buyers are rotating back in, this is where you enter the fair value zone. Okay, future scenarios. Again, these are my future scenarios, guys. Take this with a grain of salt if you do plan to own Nike or own Nike, okay? When I say bear case, the bear case means flat range bound, right? Trading 50 to 60% with a secured 2 to 3% growing dividend. That's good enough. That's decent because they are trying to turn around. Don't ask for too much here. Hey, the bull case hits $75 to $90 in 24 months as margin recovers. They do need some time to really make a turnaround to start dominating market share again. Okay, so while the bear case does see China declines testing the ultimate $30 floor, right? We have to determine if they can rebound in the Chinese market. Okay, ultimate bottom line, what is my final verdict here? I still don't think that, this is not a deep value play, right? It is more highly complex turnaround bet on the CEO executing on the strategy. Okay, the 3.71% dividend acts as a good shock absorber, right? Literally paying you to weigh out the reorganization if you truly believe in Nike. If you don't think they're going anywhere, right? However, you are paying a 25 to 30x PE. Okay, it still lacks a traditional margin of safety. You are paying a pretty pricey premium here, okay? As much as you shouldn't blindly bet against Nike, never assume it's an automatic buy here, okay? Just because it's global brand, that doesn't mean it's a buy. Okay, but who should buy? Dividend growth investors, yes, I still think it's a good play for you guys, but I would start with a small contrarian starter position to capture this modest 3.71% yield, okay? Income investors, no, guys, we gotta stay away. You need 5% or more from REITs or treasuries to justify taking a big equity risk here, okay? Not for us income investors. We can stay away from this. However, if you're a true Nike fanboy, sure, go ahead and buy this for income. Value investors, guys, I think this is a wait for value investors, right? Let the EPS firmly through and definitely turn upwards before deploying heavy capital. Wait and see if the CEO can actually execute, okay? Momentum investors, absolutely not, definitely no, right? The technical trend is showing that it's severely broken with heavy institutional selling pressure, okay? A lot of the smart money and big boys are getting out. Okay, I hope you guys like my little rant with Nike. If you got anything out of it, let me know what stock you want me to deep dive next. Leave it on this video. Leave a comment. I'll do my best. I did see Nike trending, and I used to own this about a year ago, so I just want to make a video on this. Hope you found it informational, creative, got something out of it. Maybe you agreed, maybe you disagreed. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate all comments, and I do not delete any comments. I promise you that. I take every comment to heart, good or bad. If you want to support the channel, subscribe, comment, like. Catch you guys on next. Stay tuned.